his eyes shimmering with emotion as he watched her approach. Soft Swahili songs blended with Korean instrumentals, and guests from both countries looked on in awe as two worlds joined in love. When the priest said, "You may now seal your vows," Wu lifted her veil gently. Naomi smiled through tears. "I told you hearts recognize each other," she whispered. "And mine never stopped searching for you," he replied, before kissing her. Slow, reverent, eternal. The crowd erupted in applause. The ocean roared behind them as if celebrating too. After the ceremony, as the moon rose over the sea, they sat quietly by the shore. Naomi rested her head on his shoulder. "I used to think my surgery was my second chance at life," she murmured. "But now I know you were." He smiled, tracing circles on her hand. "And I used to think I knew everything about the heart, until yours taught me what it truly means to love." The stars shimmered above, the same stars that had watched them across oceans. Only this time they weren't apart. Their hearts, once connected by distance, fear, and fate, now beat side by side. One rhythm, one promise. In the years that followed, Dr. Wu and Naomi Wuamani built hospitals across Africa and Asia through the Naomi Heart Foundation. They gave life, love, and hope to countless children born with weak hearts, just like hers once was. Whenever people asked Dr. Wu why he dedicated his empire to heart surgery, he would smile and answer, "Because one heart changed everything, and I promised to spend my life giving others the same miracle." And every evening, as they stood hand in hand watching the rain fall outside their home, Naomi would whisper, "See, it's raining again." And he'd smile, replying, "Yes, that means you're thinking of me." After the wedding, Dr. Wu and Naomi settled in a quiet coastal town near Busan, far from the flashing cameras and noisy city. Their home stood on a hill, overlooking the blue horizon. A white villa surrounded by cherry blossoms and bougainvillea that Naomi planted herself. Every morning, sunlight filtered through the curtains, falling softly across their bed, where Naomi usually woke first. She would turn and watch Wu sleep, peaceful, his hand always resting close to her heart as if he still needed to guard it. Sometimes she would trace his jawline and whisper, "Even when you sleep, you look too serious." And he'd open his eyes just to murmur back, half asleep, "That's because I'm dreaming of you." Then they would laugh quietly, their morning beginning not with alarm clocks, but with kisses that spoke of gratitude and love. Their life wasn't grand or noisy. It was made of simple, beautiful moments. Wu, once a man consumed by work, now spent mornings cooking with her, though he often burned toast or forgot to add sugar to her tea. Naomi would laugh and gently fix it. "You're a genius in the operating room," she'd tease, "but hopeless in the kitchen." He would smirk and pull her close. "That's because I get distracted when you're near the stove." In the evenings, they took long walks by the shore, fingers intertwined, shoes dangling in their free hands. Wu loved watching her collect seashells. Small treasures, she said, reminded her of Tanzania's beaches. "I'll fill our house with them," she said once. He looked at her, eyes soft. "You already filled it with yourself." Their favorite moments came whenever it rained. They never stayed indoors. Instead, they'd run out to the balcony, letting the rain soak them as they danced barefoot to soft music. Wu would hold her waist, pulling her closer, his forehead resting against hers. "You remember our promise?" he'd whisper. Naomi smiled through raindrops. "To think of each other when it rains?" He nodded. "Now we don't have to think, we're here." Their laughter echoed against the sound of rain and thunder, blending with the sea breeze. Two souls that had once been oceans apart now finding peace in the same storm. Their home was full of warmth, but not without imperfections. Naomi sometimes struggled with fatigue, remnants of her surgery. Wu would notice even before she spoke. He'd carry her gently to the couch, cover her with a blanket and say, "My patient needs rest." She'd smile faintly, "And my doctor needs to stop worrying so much." He'd sit beside her, holding her hand. "Can't help it. You're my favorite heartbeat." Sometimes, she would spend her quiet afternoons painting, soft watercolors of their home, the sea, and the cherry blossoms. Wu often stood behind her, resting his chin on her shoulder. "Why do you always paint the two of us?" he'd ask. She'd turn her head slightly and whisper, "Because everything beautiful in my life began with us." At night, their home turned into a haven of tenderness. Wu loved to read while Naomi lay across his lap, her fingers tracing idle circles on his hand. When she grew sleepy, he'd set the book aside and stroke her hair. Sometimes she'd whisper softly, "You used to fear love. What changed?" He'd smile, leaning closer to kiss her forehead. "You did. You made me realize love isn't a weakness. It's the only cure for loneliness." She would then lift her gaze to meet his eyes, the same eyes that once hid behind cold walls, and whisper, "Then I'll spend my life keeping your heart strong." And he would answer simply, "You already do." Their kisses were slow, unhurried, full of memories, promises, and peace. No diamonds, no parties, no crowds. Just two souls learning that love, in its quietest form, is the greatest luxury. Their life became a melody of gentle routines, shared breakfasts, late-night talks, rainy dances, and slow kisses before sleep. Sometimes Wu would wake early, watching her sleep beside him, her soft breathing, her hand curled against his chest. He'd whisper, "Thank you for finding me, Naomi." Even half asleep, she would smile and whisper back, "No, Wu, thank you for choosing me." And in that home by the sea, far from the noise of wealth, far from the loneliness of fame, their love continued to bloom like the flowers in Naomi's garden, quiet and eternal. After several years of love, growth, and quiet contentment in their home by the sea, Naomi and Wu began to dream bigger. Their hearts, once drawn together by the healing of a single patient, now beat as one for a much larger purpose. Naomi often spoke of the children she had seen back in Tanzania, children born with heart conditions who never had the chance to see the sunrise again. It haunted her, even in the peaceful rhythms of her life with Wu. "I can't forget them," she confessed one night, her voice quiet as they sat on their balcony, watching the stars. "I want to help them. There has to be a way." Dr. Wu turned to her, a spark of determination in his eyes. "Then let's build a hospital, a place for children like the ones you saw. One where they get the care they deserve, no matter where they come from." And just like that, their dream was born. The Naomi Heart Foundation had already been making a difference across Africa. Dr. Wu had visited Tanzania many times, working alongside Naomi to provide free heart surgeries for children in need. But this new idea, building a full-fledged hospital, felt like the next step in their shared mission. After months of planning and meetings with local governments, medical experts, and international donors, the hospital project was underway. They chose Dar es Salaam for its accessibility and central location in East Africa. The site was a wide expanse of land overlooking the Indian Ocean, perfect for a healing environment, where nature and medicine could coexist. But it wasn't just about the hospital itself. It was about the legacy they wanted to leave. This wasn't going to be just another medical facility. It was going to be a center of hope, learning, and compassion. The design of the hospital was unique. Naomi insisted on incorporating African art and Swahili architectural elements throughout the building, making it not only a place of medical healing but also one of cultural pride. The walls would be adorned with colorful murals of African wildlife, children's faces, and landscapes. Dr. Wu contributed his vision, cutting-edge medical technology and patient-centered care, but together they fused the traditional with the modern. Their goal was clear: healing without borders. No child, whether from Africa or elsewhere, should be denied the chance to live because of something as simple as access to healthcare. Over the next year, they oversaw the construction of the Naomi Wu Children's Heart Hospital, a sprawling, state-of-the-art facility with surgical theaters, recovery wards, and research labs, all dedicated to the treatment and prevention of congenital heart diseases. As the hospital grew, Naomi and Wu knew that building the team of medical professionals was just as important as building the infrastructure. They traveled to universities and medical schools across the world, handpicking surgeons, nurses, and staff who shared their vision of compassionate, patient-centered care. Wu insisted on training local doctors in Tanzania to ensure that the hospital wasn't just a foreign entity, but a sustainable institution that empowered the community. Naomi worked with local foundations to bring in educational programs for young Tanzanian medical students, giving them the skills to one day lead the hospital themselves. Finally, the day arrived. It was a clear, warm morning when the Naomi Wu Children's Heart Hospital was officially opened. The streets of Dar es Salaam buzzed with excitement as dignitaries, families, and press gathered for the grand ceremony. Wu stood beside Naomi as they cut the ribbon. The moment was surreal. The hospital they had dreamed of, built together, now stood as a monument to everything they believed in. Naomi took a deep breath, looking around at the faces of the children, their families, and the medical team that would carry this mission forward. This, she said, voice breaking with emotion, is what love can build. This hospital is more than just walls and machines. It's a promise that no child will ever face a lifetime of suffering because of something they couldn't control. Dr. Wu squeezed her hand, his heart swelling with pride. And it's our promise, Naomi, to never stop fighting for them. The crowd erupted into applause, but for Naomi and Wu, the only thing that mattered was the sound of children laughing, playing, and healing, the sound of hearts being mended. Just a few days after the opening, they performed the first surgery together. A 4-year-old boy named Kofi, whose heart defect had been diagnosed too late in his life to be treated in most hospitals. He had been brought to their new hospital from a remote village. Naomi stood beside Wu as he operated, her hands steady, her heart calm. It felt surreal to be standing in the operating theater, surrounded by their team, and yet so full of peace. She knew this was her calling, and now she could see the ripple effect of that calling reaching far beyond herself. After the surgery, Wu turned to Naomi with a smile. "He's going to be okay." Naomi squeezed his hand. "We made it happen, together." And with that, they stepped into the future. A future where their legacy wasn't just written in medical books, but in the lives of every child who would walk through the doors of the Naomi Wu Children's Heart Hospital. As the years passed, the hospital grew into an international beacon of hope. Their efforts didn't stop with just one hospital. They began to expand their reach to neighboring countries, training more medical professionals and establishing satellite clinics to provide free care to children in need. Every year, Naomi and Wu held fundraising events to continue the hospital's work. At these events, Naomi would often speak about their journey, about the love that had started with 2 hearts, and how it had now healed so many others. Their home in Busan became a quiet retreat between trips, a place where they would talk about their next project, or simply hold hands and watch the rain. Their love, born in a hospital room, now radiated across continents. A love that healed more than just the body, but the world itself. In the late evenings, when the air grew cool, Naomi and Wu would sit on the porch of their home in Busan, watching the stars, the same stars that had witnessed their journey from the very beginning. They never spoke much about their legacy. They didn't need to. It was all around them. In the hospital, in the children's laughter, in the lives they had touched. And every night, as they held each other close, Naomi would smile and whisper, "This is everything I ever wanted." Wu would kiss her forehead and reply, "And we've only just begun." Their hearts beat together, in unison, forever. It was late, the house peaceful and still. The faint sound of ocean waves lapping at the shore below drifted through the open windows of their home. Naomi and Wu sat side by side on their balcony, a blanket wrapped around their shoulders, watching the moonlight dance on the water. The years had passed. Not many, but enough to change everything. They had built a legacy together, a hospital that now stood as a symbol of love and healing. They had loved, laughed, and cried together, each moment more precious than the last. Their hearts, once 2 separate beats, had become a single rhythm, stronger than either of them alone. But tonight, as Naomi leaned her head on Wu's shoulder, something felt different. Something in the quiet of the evening, in the way his hand lingered on hers, felt final. Not in a way that ended, but in a way that completed. "I've spent my life chasing something," Naomi said, her voice soft and reflective. "First, I was chasing healing, Then I was chasing you. But now I know. I was chasing home. Wu looked down at her, his heart swelling with an emotion that felt both weightless and heavy. He kissed her forehead, his hands trembling slightly. You were my home the moment I first saw you, he whispered. I never needed anything more than this. Than you. They sat in silence, the years of their love unfolding between them like a soft melody, woven with memories of their journey. The laughter and soul, the pain of their separation, the day they built the hospital together, and every quiet moment in between. It was the simplest things that made their love real. As time passed, Wu's hands, the steady hands that had saved countless lives, began to tremble, the years of hard work taking their toll. Naomi, too, had grown tired, though her heart remained strong. Their work in Tanzania had expanded. Their hospital continued to thrive, but with each passing year, they felt the weight of time creeping in. One evening, Naomi woke to find Wu sitting on the edge of their bed, gazing out the window, his face illuminated by the soft glow of the moon. What is it? She asked, her voice thick with sleep. I was just thinking, he said quietly, how I've never been afraid of anything. Not surgery, not failure, not success, but the thought of losing you scares me more than anything in the world. Naomi sat up beside him, placing a hand gently on his back. We're not promised forever, Wu, but we've built something that will live on long after we're gone. Every life we've touched, every child we've saved, that's forever. And you'll always be my heart, even when I'm gone. Tears welled in Wu's eyes, his chest tight with emotion. She was right, they had built a legacy that would last. And yet, no amount of success or achievement could ever replace the love they had shared. He turned to her, his voice raw. And you'll always be mine. I think I loved you the moment I saw you, Naomi. And I'll love you forever. She smiled through her tears. Then let's promise one thing. When we're no longer here, our hearts will still beat together. Every heartbeat, every breath, will carry us forward. They clasped hands, a silent vow passing between them, their hearts now bound forever. Not just by love, but by the promise that their love would never end. Years later, when they were both too frail to walk the halls of their beloved hospital, Naomi and Wu sat together in the garden of their home, the place where it had all begun. The cherry blossoms outside were in full bloom, just as they had been on their wedding day. Their hearts were both slowing, the years catching up with them. Naomi, her face soft with age and wisdom, leaned her head against Wu's chest, listening to the steady beat of his heart, the heart that had once healed hers. We did good, didn't we? She whispered. Wu's voice was barely audible, but his words were clear. We did more than good, Naomi. We loved. And in the end, that's all that matters. He squeezed her hand, and for the last time, they watched the sunset together, their hearts beating as one. When Naomi and Wu passed, just a few months apart, their funeral was not filled with sadness but with a celebration of their love and life. The Naomi Wu Children's Heart Hospital became a pilgrimage site for those who had been touched by their work. They had given more than just medical care. They had given hope, love, and a vision for a world where no child had to suffer from a broken heart. On the anniversary of their passing, a special ceremony was held at the hospital. Their hearts were forever memorialized in a garden at the hospital, where a plaque read, "Two hearts, one rhythm. Their love healed the world." And every year, as the cherry blossoms bloomed in their garden, the children of Tanzania and beyond would sing songs of thanks, not just for the hospital, but for the love that had sparked its creation. A love that was more powerful than time, more eternal than any heartbeat. Years had passed since the last stone of the Naomi Wu Children's Heart Hospital was laid, and the world continued to echo their love story. But in their quiet seaside home in Busan, Naomi and Wu had long ceased to chase the noise of the world. They lived simply, morning walks by the water, tea on the veranda, and laughter that came softly, like a familiar melody between two souls who had said all they ever needed to say. Their love was no longer loud. It was gentle, sacred, and eternal. One morning, Naomi woke to find Wu sitting beside the window, watching the sunrise paint the sky gold. His hair had turned completely silver, his face lined with wisdom and time, but his eyes still held that same warmth, the same tenderness that had first drawn her in years ago. "Do you remember the day I first met you?" she asked softly, smiling. Wu turned to her, his lips curling into that same smile she had fallen in love with. "How could I forget? You were trembling, scared, but even then, you had the most beautiful strength I'd ever seen." Naomi chuckled faintly, tears already threatening to fall. "And you looked like the world's loneliest man pretending to be untouchable." He reached for her hand, his grip warm but frail. "You touched a part of me that even I didn't know needed healing." They sat quietly for a while, their hands intertwined. Outside, the sea breeze carried the scent of spring, and the faint laughter of children playing drifted in from afar, children who lived because of the legacy they had built. Later that evening, Naomi began to feel weak. Wu noticed immediately and guided her gently to their bed. She lay against his chest, feeling the rhythm of his heart. Steady, calm, and he rushed her to hospital. After 1 hour she delivered a baby boy. He held his hand and whispered, "Naomi, my love, you have given me everything. May you be blessed forever." And Naomi whispered and said, "My love, you be blessed forever, my healer. To heart that finds forever peace." Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the story, please leave a comment. Also like, share and subscribe to my channel and click on the notification icon so that you will get notified whenever a new story is uploaded.